Ciao, I'm FIDE Master Vladimir Chernikov and it's new video for our real chess channel, and now we'll talk about one chess prodigy from Argentina, Faustino Oro. So for those who don't know who is this, Faustino Oro is a 10 years old kid, yeah, just 10-year old, and he living in Spain right now. He transferred from Argentina a few years ago, I think, or this year even. To Barcelona, Spain, and he's already FIDE Master, the youngest FIDE Master in the world, and as he said in his profile in chess.com, also the youngest player to achieve the international norm in this case. So yesterday was Tuesday, and there was Title Tuesday, as always in chess.com, and Faustino Oro beat all the top GM and finished in the third place. Only loss that he had in this tournament was against Fabiano Caruana, a famous United States player, and I think he drew the game versus Santos Latasa, also Spanish guy, and he had some brilliant wins. 4 of these games we'll analyze, not all of them, but the most important moments for you to understand the play style of young prodigy. So let's jump directly to the first game, and none less than Gotham Chess got cracked by Faustino Oro. He just crushed him in this game with white pieces. So what happened here? We in this position where white has quite advantage. It has rook here, but turns out that Gotham Chess had only one move to save this game in this position. You can pause video and try to find it. Okay, so the move was knight to c6. Let's understand why. Obviously it's very difficult position, knight threats to jump somewhere, more likely on c7. So first of all we need to understand why exactly this is very important, because if knight goes to f6 with the discovery, queen takes, no problem, here queen takes, etc. So only knight c7 is a threat, and the only move that stops this is knight to c6. Because now in case of knight c7, queen can take on c7, and if knight goes to b6, the square that becomes available now, black even can end up in better position after knight d4, brilliant move, and after knight d4, queen b6, black enjoys the bishop pair and better position, and well, you can say maybe let's move in this case rook to a7, right, to save this, but then queen e3, rook is targeted, moreover knight b6 coming on this move, next move, and white wins on the spot. If knight c6, rook takes c6, easy tactics, and a rook falls. So Gotham Chess was not able to find this move. He played bishop d8, and obviously after knight c7, bishop takes, he had to sacrifice the queen, but it didn't really help in this position. Knight e5, using a pin, knight c6, bishop f7, king f8, and I mean here brilliant move, queen f5, but turns out it was not that strong. What's the point? After bishop e5, wins move bishop b3 or bishop e6. So why not bishop d5 that played Faustino here? The problem is that after moves such as bishop f6, white doesn't have this important check on c5, and because of it doesn't win the game. Let's say bishop b3, the same line, bishop f6, queen c5 check. Then if bishop e7 is played, some queen h5, and there's idea of mates. Also, let's say we can play queen e6 here, probably the best move even, yeah, computer agrees. If knight goes to e5, there's only defense, and rook c7, it just, white just crashing in matter of time when this game will be over. And, yeah, very important, there's no mate in the first rank because of this bishop covering. But, okay, bishop d5 doesn't let some of these options, so after bishop f6, now the problem is that if queen e6 were played, black has also the sacrifice, so that's another big problem of this move. And after, let's say, queen d5, rook d8, position stable, black has 3 pieces per queen, very stable 3 pieces, very good coordinated, etc. So okay, let's go back, okay, bishop e6 here. Now Faustino realized that he takes on c6, rook c8, a brilliant move, very good continuation, because probably what he was hoping for in case of Faustino, that here queen c5 we take the bishop, and obviously white should be winning. But after rook c8, the pieces are coordinated much better, king suddenly escapes, bishop d5, queen c8, and we end up in this endgame where probably black is even better, but then let's see what happened. Game goes on, a bishop e6, here 2 bishops, but the pawn is lost. Still, position was not that bad. According to engine, this is bad move, but I don't see why. Like bishop a2 is completely fine. And then just to show you how the game finished, we need to understand that there is 3+1 control, time control. Gotham Chess has just 2 seconds on the clock versus 10. One of the strongest part of play on Faustino Oro is that he's very fast. He's extremely fast, and in this position looks like he's anyway losing, but now he starts to push the pawns. That's something that he does pretty easily. They repeat, Faustino doesn't want to repeat. It's true that now it's difficult to lose with white. Yeah, bishop pairs are extremely active, but if you don't blunder, like any of the pawns cannot be captured, and white has finally some comfortable position, he achieves to bring king to g6, and here already white is better, and the panic also goes on. Here move g5, rook f7, rook e7, you know, there's blitz game, and finally game becomes lost for black, because in this case, after this move, the rook e7, rook cuts the king, f7, bishop g7, rook e8, brilliant move again, queen f6, and yeah, just a position where Gotham resigned. So as you see, very good endgame technique from Faustino. He didn't want to make a draw repeating, he knew that he was a little bit better, and he achieves the win. Let's go for next one, and this is a game versus I think it's Ukrainian Grandmaster Korobov, yeah. And here Faustino plays with black pieces and finds another very good move. It's not that brilliant in terms of that, well, this pawn anyway will be lost. In this case, it's not a positional sacrifice. Pawn will be lost on c5 no matter what. So he plays move c4, letting this c5 square for the knight. Very strong move. And knight goes to the c5 square. Let's say queen c3, he goes here. And this is something where obviously black is still a little bit worse, but at least he has this very good knight. White has some weaknesses here, like all over the board. I mean, all the dark squares, the same as black has, but at least he has some counterplay. And here again, he outplayed his opponent. Let's see what happens. It's a brilliant idea, but knight f5, it's nothing very important because, well, it's not threatening nothing, just a good move. If pawn takes, at least rook becomes active, so f6, rook e8. Here, at some point, Korobov was better, but here, yes, he threw away the advantage. I mean, rook b1, queen d6, and now, this once again very difficult. According to agent, he needed to follow these queens and play knight d2 and not give up any single pawn. But okay, rook b6 looks like a very active move, but after bishop c4, suddenly black is completely fine, and bishop on d5 is very, very strong, extremely strong piece. So rook e2, rook b1, rook e6, there's some typical blitz kind of moves, and pawn falls. That's very important. So now there is no ideas of the checkmate on the back rank. There's no rook b8 anyway still because of queen takes, and we see that Faustino defended, and bad pawn structure of white finally matters, and Korobov doesn't have nothing better than just give up the game after this kind of moves. I mean, here it's already hopeless. It's 3 extra pawns, better king, and here Korobov loses on time, but I mean, in any case, position was already completely lost. Now the game against Vietnamese player Quang Liêm. We know that this player is more talented in blitz games because in the classical chess he's obviously a very strong grandmaster, but not the strongest in blitz. I remember when I still was young, I saw him in the first boards on some World Cups of blitz, etc. So very strong blitz player. And every title Tuesday he plays extremely well. So here is a position where the kid that Faustino Oro is, even though he's strong, sometimes he plays still as a kid. He makes this move, bishop to h6. According to engine it's bad, but it's not that bad move in the practical terms. But I mean, if you're playing here with white, probably you just can play something more calm, maybe queen d3, just improving your position of your pieces. Sometimes maybe you can grab the pawn actually, because this is defended. But okay, bishop h6, what is the idea? Rook takes h6, knight f4. Here Quang Liêm defending very well until some point. Knight f4, cutting pass of the queen towards the king side. So rook takes f6, engine doesn't like it, but okay, I mean, that's an engine. Rook e5, he wants to bring another piece to attack. So king f8, that move is not the best. Supposedly bishop b8 was the move, but I mean, it's kind of natural, like you kind of helping rook go where it wants to go. And bishop, I cannot say that it's like bad place on the square, looking at opponent's pawn. So king f8, knight h5, double attack, knight takes, rook takes, and now black blunders. Okay, according to engine once again, it's easy to win this position. But in with 15 seconds that Quang Liêm has on his clock, it's quite hard because you have extra piece. But the advantage here, yes, that the 3 pawns of Faustino here, there don't really matter. It's true that in some endgame they can start to roll forward, but with 2 bishops on the board, it's quite difficult to achieve it opening up the king. So basically it's 3 piece up, but he needs to be precise in defense. And he makes exactly moves that loses the game on the spot. That's queen g7. Why is it so? Idea of rook h5 was not just to go rook h8, but maybe also to play rook h7. So if black plays some other move, let's say, I don't know, whatever, black can play something on f7 in between, and it's not that bad. Now, queen is directly attacked, and it needs to go away, and wherever queen goes, the position becomes lost. Queen a5, now checkmate in one thread, the bishop is hanging, he didn't find nothing better than give up the queen, but still, I mean, in this position, white is dominating in general, but okay. I think here was the moment where Faustino actually mistake and won the game, right? This typical kind of clickbait videos, how to make mistake winning the game. What happened here? He played this move, not here, excuse me, yeah, in this position. He played move bishop g6 that is drawing already the game, losing all the advantage, but Quang Liêm became panicking and didn't have time to make a move and lost on time. Why is it so? Well, first of all, that after simple bishop takes, queen takes, king e7, there's no way to check with the fork and to win one of the black pieces, and if not, after d4, even white needs to be careful. I mean, white obviously will have some perpetual, but if not, this pawn just marching down the board, and it's a draw. What white should have done is to play queen e3, very strong check, threatening discoveries and whatever. And after moves such as, let's say, king d8, bishop f5, and we see that there's mating threats against the king, bishop is hanging, and for example after d4, queen e5, and we see that this king will be checkmated, will end up checkmated in any case. But okay, bishop e6, and yeah, I mean, obviously we need to understand that Faustino has 3 seconds, that Quang Liêm has 1 second, so these mistakes are something normal, and bishop g6 is winning the game, turns out, because here Liam lost on the clock. And we're going to the most important, the most impressive, save the best for last game versus Indian Grandmaster Narayanan. That was a decisive game, round 11 as well. And let's see what happened. Okay, in this position probably black has a slight advantage because of the d4 pawn, right? We know that isolated pawn is something that we don't want to have in our position, moreover when it's blocked by the knight of opponent. Knight is in outpost, just only think he has a double pawns, but if someone is better in this position, it's obviously a player with black pieces. What happened here? Happened move knight to d3. Knight d3 is a very strong idea. It's giving up the pawn. We can say that probably white had other good moves, like, okay, it's difficult to invent, maybe just to try to double up somewhere on c file or something like that, but this idea is very interesting. It leads knight to c5, so it forces move bishop takes d4. This is pretty forced, right, because it was a fork. And here we understand that black has some weak dark squares near the king, and not just near the king. All the dark squares are 4 wide, and white pieces are a little bit more active. So that's very good practical resource. Then let's see the mess that happened after it. Knight played to f6, not precise, but okay, it's not that worse. And we end up in this position. These moves are pretty unique. I mean, you obviously cannot go king g7 because of rook c8. I mean, maybe you still can bring knight back. You see, I mean, if rook goes back, that's knight drops. Maybe it's the same still, but yeah, I mean, they go for other way. Bishop d2, c4, f3, queen e5, bishop c3. Okay, here, after king goes here in h5, it's quite difficult to play. Queen d7, rook e7, rook e6, they fall in. And queen b8. According to engines, the plan for white that is better in this position, obviously that, I mean, black cannot move, was to play this move, queen d7, go to d8, and after sudden move, let's say, as knight is defended, I assume that in removing the king from here will be a good idea. To find this move, that here we have the bishop before move, rook has to go to e6, and then these pawns become extremely weak. Then we try to bring rook, we can't because of the knight, then we have this, and we pressure. But okay, with even 1 minute on the clock, it's not easy to find at all. So what happened instead is queen b8, and black finds this brilliant idea of pushing the pawns, and here something crazy will happen. Rook c6, and here black is completely winning. Engine says -5, -3, but let's see with which kind of lines. Okay, one of them is to play move that played in the game, g3. Other was queen e2, threatening to win, and what happens if rook takes e6, g3 check, very important, king can't go to back rank because it gets mated very fast, needs to go to h3, queen e6 check, king h4, the forced moves, right, like we say, and this sequence of this forced move, f5 check, king f5 is unique move, and voila, the fork on d6, and that's what was winning the game for the Argentinian player. Excuse me, for the Indian player, right? Another move was this, but now, obviously, I mean, knight g7 is a big blunder according to engine, but try to find the only winning move here for black. It's something very crazy, but at the same time very simple, but I'll suggest to do it if you're really a player of more advanced level, because without it, I don't think it's very easy to find this move. So, we need to look at the position and to understand that there is no mate suddenly, but the bishop in middle of the board ends up trapped. Brilliant move, b4 wins the game. What's going on here? Bishop is trapped. If queen takes on b4, then rook is hanging, it's not any longer protected. If bishop goes to take on b4, after this removing bishop from this diagonal, there's queen e5 now, the move that was not available, and queen h5 just coming with the mate. Engine doesn't have nothing better than just give up the queen like that, and obviously it's losing, and rook c5 stopping this move allows another slide on h file now with the rook. Okay, so we can take the pawn. Rook e6 unfortunately leads to queen e6 with a check, and bishop drops. We can go here. Yeah, I mean, we can go absolutely anywhere, right? There's no other available square for the bishop, and just like that, the bishop gets trapped in the middle of the board. So bishop d2 maybe was another line, trying to dissuade the queen and go for something like queen e7, but I mean, we just remove the knight, and yeah, we save the game. So okay, let's go back. Obviously, with 15 seconds, it's something impossible to see. So knight g7 happens, and we end up to another massacre here, queen h6. Obviously, knight e6 is huge blunder. Queen e6 was probably drawing the game. We have to go to the end game. Let's say king g4, king g6. Yeah, it's extra pawn for black here, but I think white's completely safe due to activity of the king and pawns on the dark squares. Bishop can easily go to target it, or this way even. Pretty straightforward, and must be a drawish position. So knight e6 allows queen h8, queen f6, and now, I mean, white needed to find the idea of winning the game here by giving a check, and after the check is given, I think it's better was to give it on h8. If king moves to g6, let's say, we needed, okay, king g5, there is, I think, no, better was queen f7, yes, so if king g5 is played, there bishop f6, and once king go away, there is this brilliant move, king to g4, removing last squares for the king, and queen h5 is almost unstoppable mate, and position is winning. And here's the panic. First of all, we need to understand that sometimes kids are panicking, and not just kids. So 11 seconds, Faustino plays move very fast, queen f5, that loses game on the spot, and it's very obvious to see why. And now the 7th second in this moment, top GM from India doesn't find checkmate in one, basically because, I mean, after knight g5, another check, white doesn't have nothing better than resign, because queen g5 is a forced move, otherwise it's just a checkmate. And I mean, king g5 and this king will be mated pretty soon. Huge, impossible blunder by Indian player. He goes Narayanan, plays king h6 here, and now Faustino finds this brilliant king g4 idea that king escapes from everything, and I mean, then after king f5 position is lost. Once again here, after queen e2, we should notice that queen h5 is checkmate in one. With 11 seconds, Faustino doesn't find checkmate in one. It goes queen f6, and okay, after king 5, I mean, position is completely lost, but still, I mean, we can give a check and try perpetual, but obviously it's not there. And if we don't do it, queen h8, just a mate, because the same pattern that we saw before, let's say queen g2, mate, with king on g4, black has king g6, but with king on f5, this square is unavailable. So that was a tournament. Faustino scored 9.5 out of 11. He beat all the opponents except of Latasa, with whom he made the draw, and Fabiano Caruana, against whom he lost. Still, we see sometimes it's a kid. Kid is a kid. He does kid things. Sometimes he sacrifices the pieces where it's not needed. Sometimes he plays too fast where he needs to think. But all this will come in question of 1-2 years with experience. But the chess level is obviously there. For example, this brilliant idea of bringing king upwards and playing for a win. This always this mentality to play for a win and play more for a win. And I hope, obviously, that Faustino will become a very strong chess player, maybe next Magnus Carlsen or whatever he wants to become. And with this, we come to the conclusion of this video. I hope you subscribe for the channel, put some likes there, and wait for our next video. Thank you!